Hello, America. Tonight, I want to issue a warning. There are multiple things happening in the world right now, and I think they're all building towards one really super devastating outcome. But you know me. I'm not exactly an optimist. So I want to look through multiple stories over the next hour, and I'll weave them all together so our current situation makes a little more sense to you, so maybe you can see over the horizon. We're going to look at what's happening with the Christians in Nigeria. And we're going to look into the genocide in Sudan and how these things are second page news, if it's even second page. I'll tell you how we're all being manipulated right now. And speaking of manipulation, New York City just had the most important election they've ever had. Socialism. Want to know where the majority of the money came from for Mamdani? Here's Linda Sarsour with the answer.
Right now, I'm a little more quiet because I'm on the quiet side of this race, but I'm going to tell you that once November 4th comes around, I will tell the story. The story is not just, that it's random that Zohran ascended to this place. It is our Muslim American communities. And I'll also say that it's Muslim money. The PACs that have supported Zohran, or a particular PAC that has supported Zohran, is probably over 80% of Muslim American donors in this country. High net donors, grassroots donors. And I want to make the point that the Unity and Justice Fund PAC, which is the CARE Super PAC, was the largest institutional donor to the pro-Zohran PAC in New York.
Ha! Seems like useful information. I mean, unless you're bored with that kind of stuff, because what does it all mean? So the majority of the money, per Sarsour there, came from CARE, as in the Council on American Islamic Relations, as in the unindicted co-conspirator named in the FBI's terrorism finance case of 2007, as in the one that Chip Roy is just introducing a bill saying they can't get any money. They shouldn't get it. It's a terrorist front here. They kind of work kind of hand in hand. Maybe not hand in hand, but they've held hands with somebody who's held hands with the other. You know what I mean? Now, this coincides with the Islamist cooperation with the radical left and groups like the Democratic Socialist of America. Even Antifa marches side by side with people like this in the streets. Never before in this country have Marxists and Islamists joined forces as they are right now. Who would have seen this coming? This never ends well, and history has proven it. During the Iranian Revolution, Marxists teamed up with Khomeini. After the fall of the Shah in 1979, it took 2 years for the love affair to end. Which one ate the other one? The Islamists saw the leftists as useful idiots. And then the slaughter commenced. Hundreds of left-wing activists, as they began to see that they were being used, died in the streets during protests. The rest were just rounded up and thrown into prison. Within just a few months, 3,000 to 5,000 leftists were put to death inside of Khomeini's prisons. Who would have seen that coming too? In 1988, 30,000 Marxists were suspected of being killed from executions, torture, and in the streets. I have been trying to warn the world and you stupid leftists what was coming for you and then for us ever since the Arab Spring. I saw leftists, anarchists, and Islamists all working together again, and I warned that it would spread all over the world, and it has. You've seen the left-wing alliance with the pro-Palestinian movement yourself. They're everywhere. Does it make any sense? Of course not. Go to Gaza and say, you know what, I'm proudly trans, and they'll proudly kill you. When all is said and done, the Islamists of today will act exactly the way they did in Iran back in 1979. Of course it doesn't make sense, but we're fighting a two-pronged fight here. A manipulation campaign and a spiritual campaign. We are being manipulated, and the way it's spread to various people, even on the right, shows this is very much a spiritual battle as well. We are meant to be divided. We are meant to not see what's happening in places like New York as CARE goes to the mattresses to elect Mamdani. We are meant to barely give a blink as news breaks that ISIS was planning a major attack on the U.S., during Halloween. Did you know that? No. I mean, I knew it. Maybe if you listen to the show or you watch, more than just casually, but most of Americans had no idea. The entire goal is to have us talk about anything at all, as progressives and right-wing nut jobs ally with Islamists. And then, even if they're not formally allied, they're regurgitating the exact same stupid talking points. And Christians dying in Nigeria? Nah. Where? I don't want to talk about it. The Sudanese genocide and the shady Middle East geopolitics behind it? Nah. I mean, that could distract us from, what was on Instagram again? What's on TikTok? We are being manipulated. And to show you just how far this unholy alliance between Islamist-Marxists and right-wing nutjobs go, we're going to play a little game. Yes, it's the age-old game that everybody loves called What Does Al Jazeera Say? Yeah, I mean, you have the board game at home, right? Al Jazeera is the state-run media outlet for Qatar. And together they represent some of the most aggressive political Islam ideology in the entire world. Now, here's a little example, but don't you worry. We're going to play this game all throughout tonight's show. The first headline in regard to the current alliance between the American left and Islamists. Now, keep in mind, we're not really supposed to look deep into this, but if we did, then we'd analyze it and we'd call it for what it is. A really stupid, nonsensical, and eventually dangerous group of people. So what does Al Jazeera and Qatar do? Well, they just redirect everybody's eyes to, who else? The Jews, right? Reject AIPAC. Look, I want everybody to play by the same rules. If AIPAC has different rules, we should change that. We should do that. And then we can stop this stupid argument back and forth. I want everyone to play by the same rules. But if you want to reject AIPAC, this is what U.S. progressives are joining against the pro-Islam lobby group, okay? And it's pretty ingenious, actually. They sweep what's actually happening under the rug while simultaneously saying, look at the Jews, blame the Jews. It's old, but it has been effective, for countries that have tried it for a little while and then they're destroyed. But this tactic has also successfully directed talking points from people on the right. But remember, we're playing a game show. So let's see how they're actually playing this game. What are they hiding? Well, AIPAC works differently than other foreign lobbies, so their numbers are never grouped along with other countries that lobby our government. But on average, here are some of the numbers. AIPAC, on average, spends $30 to $60 million on things like direct lobbying, events, mailers, etc. And I say on average because election years skew the numbers for all of these groups, including $100 million for the election in 2024. And that's a lot. But it doesn't tell you the entire picture of everything that's going on, does it? Let's just for fun contrast and compare. Let's say instead of just talking about the Jews, let's talk about Saudi Arabia, which, unlike AIPAC's funds from American citizens, tops out at $93 million every year on lobbying the U.S. government. And it's all state funded. The Saudi donations to the U.S. universities are on top of that. And since 1986, that is a $2.1 billion bill. Does that outrage anybody? Bueller? Anybody? With the gusto that AIPAC outrages people? But let me go on. The United Arab Emirates, all state funded. That tops out at $41 million a year. Outrage? No. Protest? No. Awkward questions from students looking to gotcha at a random conservative stage event? No. But let's go on. Qatar, all state funded, $28 million a year, with $260 million since 2014. And speaking of manipulation of our universities and our youth, Qatar, since 1986, has donated $4.3 billion to our institutions of higher education. No wonder everybody in the university just loves Hamas. So let me just get this right. The Middle Eastern Gulf kingdoms, where political Islam actually comes from, collectively gives way more money than AIPAC and directly has their fingers into our universities to the tune of multiple billions. But that's not a threat. See, this is what happens when you insist on using logic. Then you get stuck here and you're like, well, that doesn't make sense. So what am I really doing? Oh my gosh, I'm a useful idiot. See, that's why people don't want to think. But let's continue to think, shall we? We're supposed to believe that AIPAC is the problem. Why? Because Al Jazeera or Qatar said so. Are we really that gullible? Yeah, we are. People are taking the bait all over the world. Political Islam marches on in places like New York, Michigan, Minnesota, everywhere. And the leftists are shoulder to shoulder with Islamists in the streets all across the country. But don't dare talk about it. What are you doing? Are you crazy? Especially with if the fruits of these kinds of manipulations have been proven to bring disaster on a genocidal level in other places in the world, we're not going to talk about that. Which might bring us to Sudan. But again, only if we're thinking, or Nigeria. I know, it hurts sometimes, doesn't it? Your friends, people you know, maybe your own kids in college, their professors, they're not thinking. It's so much easier just to be them. But I'm going to take you to the new killing fields, and we'll go there next. So you and I have learned sometimes the hard way that the pharmacy counter is, only as reliable as the supply chain behind it. There is, in a moment, maybe a storm, a strike, a border closure, or just a run on inventory. Or, you know what? Your kid gets sick on a weekend at night and the pharmacy is closed until tomorrow and you can't get the medicine you need. Well, Jace Medical exists, so you're not living at the mercy of out of stock or just not open until Monday at 9. Through a simple online consultation, licensed medical professionals review your history and, when appropriate, prescribe a Jace case. It's a thoughtfully curated supply of emergency antibiotics and essentials packed with clear doctor-written instructions so you understand what each medication is and when it's used and how it's used. Jace has been and continues to work hard to expand their lineup so you can have total preparedness solutions tailored to you and your family's needs. I have 2 daughters in the family that have seizures, and they must have their medication. I don't want to run out of that. They don't want to run out of that. Look, I'll bet you store additional food and water because you care about your family, right? You can store peace of mind in your medicine cabinet for the very same reason. Go to jace.com and enter the promo code Beck at checkout for your discount on an order. That is promo code Beck at jase.com. The failure to resist the manipulations of those using political Islam has catastrophic consequences. I don't know. Just ask the Marxists during the Iranian Revolution. Now, I said that very specifically for a reason. Those using political Islam. Because there are activists and politicians both around the world and in our country that are using political Islam for their own purposes. And they think they're going to win in the end. You see, they see a willing ally. There are countries in the Middle East that use political Islam to spread their geopolitical relevance. But the violent jihadists that arise from all of this are always considered something they'd be able to deal with later. When the time comes, we'll deal with them. It never really actually plays out that way in the end. And let me just give you a dozen or so examples. Let's start with Nigeria. I'd be willing to bet that the vast majority of Americans had absolutely no idea that there was something going on in Nigeria or could find it on a map until Bill Maher said this on his show.
If you don't know what's going on in Nigeria, your media sources suck. You are in a bubble. Not, and again, I'm not a Christian, but they are systematically killing the Christians in Nigeria. They've killed over 100,000 since 2009. They've burned 18,000 churches. This is so much more. These are their Islamists, Boko Haram. This is so much more of a genocide attempt than what is going on in Gaza. They are literally attempting to wipe out the Christian population of an entire country. Where are the kids protesting this?
President Trump threatened military action if the Nigerian government fails to protect Nigerian Christians. But I'd like to weigh in on Mars' question. Where are the kids protesting this? Well, they're not protesting this because they're all being manipulated. I mean, it has nothing to do with AIPAC. To further understand this manipulation, we go back to our game show. What does Al Jazeera say? Yes, it's your favorite game and mine back again, just to ask, what exactly does the state-run media of Qatar say on this? The headline, no, Bill Maher, there is no Christian genocide in Nigeria. In Al Jazeera's words, this is misinformation and propaganda. But it's kind of confusing. I mean, if what's happening in Nigeria is even somewhat accurate, why would Qatar, the state-run media, Al Jazeera, feel so adamant on stating that this isn't as bad as it's being reported? Look no further than this line in the article. It states that calling this a Christian genocide is, quote, undermining the gravity of the situation in Gaza. And there it is. So here's the flowchart. Al Jazeera is Qatar. Qatar is one of the main backers of the Muslim Brotherhood. And Hamas in Gaza is on the ground, the body for the Muslim Brotherhood. It's really, really easy. It's not complicated at all. But the manipulations have captivated left-wing groups and now right-wing groups all over the world. The Muslim Brotherhood in Qatar want a foothold next to Israel, so they amplify Gaza, minimize the threat and true motivations of Hamas, aka violent Islamic terrorists, so they can reorient the blame back on Israel and the Jews. Stop looking at the Christians, okay? This is so far beyond exhausting. I don't know how we do it every day. I don't. It's insane how the American youth have jumped on this ridiculous bandwagon. But that's what the youth throughout history has always done, because they're not jaded. Okay, they're really, they say they are. Oh, you don't know how many times I've been screwed. Really? I'm 62. Do you know how many times I've seen this movie? 1 billion times. What, have you seen it once? The evidence of Christians being slaughtered by Islamists are all over the place. You can find it in the State Department publications. This one is from Biden's administration. Quote, Orfa concluded that terror groups killed Christians proportionately in much greater numbers than Muslims. Now, the next line would be actually hilarious if the consequences of such cowardice were not so catastrophically horrid. Quote, the report, however, did not draw conclusions regarding whether Christians were targeted based on their religious identity. Oh, okay. So it starts off basically saying there is a Christian genocide in the works here. Then the next line is, but let's tap the brakes a bit. Are you kidding me? Well, let's go to some witnesses, shall we? A man writing from a neighboring country laid everything out in horrifying detail. He said that being a Christian in Nigeria is no longer a simple matter. He said that jihadist organizations have massacred over 125,000 Christians. On the low end, by the way, that number is 50,000. How much is too much? These Islamists, according to the author, have destroyed over 19,000 churches. He then said that more Christians are killed for their faith in Nigeria than anywhere else in the world combined. Kind of sounds like Christian genocide to me. The jihadist attackers include groups like Boko Haram. Remember Boko Haram? That was the one where Michelle Obama just fangs came out and she was like, return our children. Yeah. I think 70 or 80 of them still are, probably in sex slavery now. But that was so brave of you, Michelle. It was. And look, they're still doing it today. There's also people called the Fulani Muslim herders. Oh. The latter is usually invoked every time someone tries to make this sound a little more complicated than a Christian genocide by Islamic jihadists. Many of these Fulani Muslim herders claim ideological inspiration from the 1804 Fulani Jihad near the same time and the same area in Nigeria. This jihad resulted in Africa's largest pre-colonial empire, called a caliphate, from 1804 to 1903. But don't worry, caliphates, they never happen. Don't focus on the Islamic terrorist and don't say it's a Christian genocide, as per the Middle East Gulf kingdoms and their state-run media arms. Concentrate on Israel and Gaza. You will hate the Jews. This week, we also saw images and video from the horror that's happening in Sudan. And I would like to include this here for several reasons. For one, what's happening there is absolutely monstrous. The most recent attack that have been so brutal, bloodstains are visible literally from space. There have been 150,000 total deaths over the past 2 years, including 5,000 in one day last week. Now, I'd like to cut away now and show you a live feed from the tent encampments and protests happening all over the country, including Columbia University. Let's go to Columbia University. Oh, I'm sorry. Turns out the Marxists and Islamists here in America actually don't care about this at all, so there's absolutely no protests in the streets. I don't understand. I thought it was all about genocide. They hated genocide. Why don't they care about this? Well, to understand, let's go back to everybody's favorite game show, What Does Al Jazeera Say? And here it is. For a shock, the Qatari state-run media actually agrees this is bad. They call out the paramilitary group that's engaging in the slaughter, and not once do they redirect away towards Gaza or Israel. Wow. I wonder what could be more important to them than blaming Israel. I mean, it must be pretty important, or all of a sudden they just caught a case of the truths. Well, only if you translate more important as Middle Eastern Gulf monarchy politics, then you'll see paramilitary group doing all the killing in Sudan, and the RSF are ethnic Arabs. Now, I'm sure Islam has nothing to do with this whatsoever. I mean, that would be insane, right? But anyway, there's a little more to it than that. The UAE backs this Arab group, but at the same time, the Saudis and the Egyptians back the Sudan armed forces. So, and Qatar, well, they're rivals with the UAE. And why is there this Gulf monarching pissing contest in Sudan while people are being slaughtered? Well, it turns out that Sudan is the world's 11th largest gold producer, which is why the UAE is interested in any of it in the first place. It has proven untapped rare earth minerals. It has proven oil reserves, and its port sits on the Red Sea, the waterway that carries all of the Gulf Arab oil and gas to Europe. So this is how you get attention to atrocities in Sudan, but silence in places like Nigeria. And that same manipulation is how you get thousands of youth willing to ally with Islamists in places like Europe and the UK and Michigan and Portland and New York City. It's how millions of dollars from the Middle East or Islamists in our own country can pour right directly into American universities, manipulating narratives in academia, swaying votes in our government, allegedly helping elect mayors in our largest cities, and manipulating the youth to join their causes. But all the focus goes to AIPAC and the Jews. The truth will set you free. And the truth is about what's really happening in Nigeria. And it gives us a very dark warning. We continue there next. If you're a homeowner, you need to listen to this. The FBI has been warning about the type of real estate fraud on the rise called title theft. Your equity is the target. Here's how it works. Criminals forge your signature on a single document. They use a fake notary stamp and they file it with the county. And just like that, your record of owning that home, well, it's not you that owns that home anymore. Using your ownership, they can take out loans against your equity, even sell your property, and you won't know about it until foreclosure or collection notices start showing up in the mail or the sheriff knocks on your door. That's why I've partnered with Home Title Lock so you can protect your equity and find out right now if somebody's trying to do that and make you a victim. Use my promo code Glenn at HomeTitleLock.com. They'll get a free title history report and a free trial of their $1 million triple lock protection. That's 24/7 monitoring of your urgent records, your title records, urgent alerts in case something changes. And if fraud does occur, their U.S.-based restoration team will spend up to $1 million to fix it. Don't wait. Go to HomeTitleLock.com right now. Use the promo code Glenn. That's HomeTitleLock.com, promo code Glenn. Well, we've heard what Al Jazeera has said about Nigeria. You've no doubt heard similar from our mainstream media. But what do actual experts say is going on over there? People who have been there a lot. Johnnie Moore is the author of a new book of Christian martyrs. He serves as the president of the Congress of Christian Leaders and is the managing director for Middle East Studies at Pepperdine University in Washington, D.C. He also wrote the book, is that the name of it? The Coming Caliphate? I know we talked about this at the time, Johnny. What was the name of your book 5 years ago?
It was called, Glenn, The Next Jihad. The next jihad. That's right. The next jihad.
But
it's now the now jihad. Oh.
Yeah. And nobody bought that book because nobody cared at the time. Nobody cared. But you laid it out at that time. And you say there are places in Nigeria that are so horrific that Christians this cannot be true, hunted for sport.
Actually, it's not just Christians being hunted for sport in Nigeria. It's the whole region now, Glenn. I mean, literally, if you are a jihadist, if you're an extremist, and you sadistically want to find a Christian to kill, like the place you go in this time is to the Sahel in Africa. And it's not just that they go randomly kill people here and there. They go to entire villages. They kill people in the most grotesque ways as possible. Glenn, I keep a few names with me. One of them is a family. They had 3 kids. The names were Patience, Revelation, and Rejoice. 13, 6, and 4 years old. And these jihadists came in, they mowed down the entire village, they killed this family. On that same day, they killed 20 other people in that village. One was a 3-month-old child they shot in the head. The other one was a 6-year-old that they hacked to death. They killed a 14-year-old little girl. Her name was Blessing. I mean, it's just insane. And it's not just a few people or a few dozen people, Glenn. It is entire villages. It's tens of thousands of people. It is a piecemeal terrorist caliphate that hunts Christians for sport. There's no other way to describe it.
So people say this is not happening, Johnny. It's just not happening.
Actually, it's worse. They say not only is it not happening, but they say the reason why it's happening is things like, no, they're not hunting Christians. It's just like the climate is changing. I mean, this is literally the answer that certain people give. But I mean, they go into these villages, they chant, Islamist phrases. They literally hunt down the Christians and they kill them. I mean, in some parts of the world, at least they give them the chance to convert. Not in this part of the world. They don't even give them the chance to convert. They just kill all of them. And there's this line in Africa where it's Muslim north of the line and it's Christian south of the line. And of course, I support religious freedom for everyone. Everybody knows that about me. But what's very, very clear is what's happening here is Islamic jihadists are trying to kill Christians in order to Islamize the rest of Christian Africa, and it's being funded by all kinds of foreign countries. It's a terrible, terrible situation. We got one country in Western Africa, I guarantee hardly anybody knows this, that's like this close, Mali, to being taken over entirely, basically by ISIS, a whole country run by ISIS. It's like as soon as you look one way, it's like these terrorists go and find another place. But it's not like we can say that we didn't know about this one. For 10 years, Glenn, this has been the most dangerous place in the world to be a Christian. And hopefully, finally, the world will pay attention and people will stop dying. But I got to tell you, I think about the tens of thousands, maybe 100,000 people that have already just been killed, like quickly, like shot, like they massacre these people. They torture them before they kill them.
7,000 people since Trump has been in office. 7,000 people since Trump has been in office. As you say, they're torturing them. They're killing them. This isn't a war. This is, you would say, maybe sport. But this is that's these jihadists coming in. They're not at war. They're not at war.
Have you seen one protest, Glenn? Like literally one. Like 5 people on some street corner somewhere in a community where maybe there's some Nigerians or some people that really, really care about persecuted Christians. Like none. Zero. These people suffer in the shadows. And I think one of the powerful and important things about President Trump saying what he said this weekend, like declaring it a country of particular concern and taking the bully pulpit of the White House and saying like enough is enough, is that hopefully people will start caring. But we have to care for Christians. Like, I mean, these are our brothers and sisters in Christ. The body, the word says that if one member of the body suffers, everyone suffers. But even if you're not a Christian, like you can't turn your eye to this grotesque brutality.
Johnny, you've known me for a long time, and I go where I have to go. And I'm really struggling right now because I feel like I should be going to Nigeria to bring the story because it's important. And everybody on my team was like, Glenn, you can't go. And I'm like, I'm going. This week, I have been told in no uncertain terms, by the highest levels of people who know in our government, do not go. It is the most dangerous place on earth. How do we get people to pay attention to this if you can't get anybody from the media to go and actually cover it because it's the most dangerous place on earth?
Well, I'll tell you, like in my own experience, when I wrote The Next Jihad, I remember, I mean, so many stories from that experience, but one that really sticks with me is I was meeting the representative of a village that had been almost totally mowed down by these jihadists. And I was going to meet him in a hotel in Abuja. And I was there with a friend of mine, a human rights activist for 50 years. And we're like waiting in the hotel for this guy, and he's running late. And he finally shows up. But the reason why he was late is he brought with him every man that had survived in the village. They walked over the same dangerous roads. They risked their lives just to come meet us at a hotel in Abuja on the off chance that they could tell their story to someone, so that if they can get their story to an American, because that is the beautiful thing about being an American. I always say the most powerful tool you have to change the world is your passport. Like, you just get on an airplane, go to some place, tell the stories. But the thing about Nigeria is we have so many Nigerian Christians in the United States of America. I mean, in Texas, like we have one of the largest diasporas anywhere in the world. Like, we need to give voice to all of these people. And frankly, everyone that can go there should go there. But when you go there, yeah, it's dangerous. It's really, really dangerous. And our ambassadors, our embassy in Abuja, they don't leave the capital city without having basically the type of armored convoy you would have if you were going into a war zone. That's how dangerous the situation has become. And I don't know. I mean, we got to sometimes risk. I know. Sometimes you got to go to tell the story.
So it's so clear to me that this is happening all over the world. There are just some places where it's ahead. In some places in the world, they're just saying, oh, no, we're just peaceful and it's all going to be fine. And we're just, building this little Islamist community, and we just want a little Sharia law. And then you see it a little further along in Europe, where you're now seeing, oh, wait a minute, they They're telling us on the streets in Europe and in America, you people are so stupid. Don't you see what's happening to you? We love it because you're just stupid. They're actually saying that. And then there's places where they're really far ahead, like in Africa. Is this all coordinated around the world? Does it just happen to be all happening around the world? And is it the end game just a global caliphate?
Well, I mean, first of all, the people that are warning us the most in the West are the incredible moderate Muslim countries and moderate Muslims around the world. I mean, countries like the UAE. There's an incredible famous clip of the foreign minister sitting in the UAE lecturing the Europeans, because the Europeans keep saying they know all these things about Islam and they know all these things about terrorism and all of these things. And the foreign minister of the UAE is saying, you have no idea what you're talking about. And that was also 10 years ago. And look at what has happened since. And the truth is, yes, there is a global coordinated effort led by certain Islamic activists. There's a lot of money that goes into it. There are elements of the Muslim Brotherhood that are a part of it. And the people warning Americans the most are our Muslim friends and allies around the world, saying, you're not taking this seriously enough. And I just really, really believe with all my heart, Glenn, that when people say that they want to kill you, you should take them at their word.
Oh, that's why I've been right about a lot of things. That's why I said in 1999 on the air at WABC, you know what? Let's talk in 10 years when there's blood, body, and buildings in the streets and it all has Osama bin Laden's name on it. You tell me then if we should take him seriously or not. When people like that say they're going to kill you, take them at their word. What is the thing that the average person can do? And Trump saying, we'll bomb you. Bomb what? Would that make a difference?
The United States is not going to have to bomb Nigeria to solve this problem. That's not the solution to the problem. The solution to the problem is exactly what President Trump did, which is say there are going to be consequences if you don't fix it. And by the way, the last time he did this in the first Trump administration, he confronted the president of Nigeria, actually literally in the Rose Garden. And you know what happened, Glenn? Over the next few months, it all calmed down. And you know why it calmed down? Because the Nigerian government can fix the problem if they choose to do it. They're just choosing not to do it. Right. And so the president should. We have I think close to $1 billion that still goes to Nigeria. We have visas that we grant to people that come here. We have all kinds of economic activity, all of these things. Like, it's gotta stop. It's all gotta be on the line until they fix it. And then, by the way, they don't have to just fix it themselves. The U.S. can help them fix it. It's not about bombing Nigeria. It's about forcing the Nigerians to fix themselves because they're capable of doing it. For the rest of us, know their stories, tell their stories, pray for them. Every church in America ought to be teamed up with a church in Nigeria. Like, whatever their problem is your problem. Like, it's a digital age. We can talk to these people online. We pray together. We help them. We support them. I mean, Nigerian Christians and the whole of Western Africa, those Christians, we ought to be close enough to them that they feel really a part of our family. And whatever they need, we do for them. And it begins with raising our voice.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Back in a minute.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. The problem is once we stop paying attention, like we did because we started paying attention to COVID, what happened to all those people in Hong Kong? They all just disappeared because we weren't paying attention. This I don't know how to solve all this stuff. Anyway, ever since COVID, millions of Americans have started buying preparedness supplies, especially emergency food, and it's a good thing. But it's a big mistake when you have the emergency food supply. Do you have a way to cook it? Do you have a way to make sure you have clean water when the power is out, the grid is down? That's why our friends over at My Patriot Supply created their Black Friday Survival Special, and it's out right now. It comes with a 4-week food supply, $150 worth of free gifts, including everything you need to prepare your meals, like a cook stove, fuel, fire starters, plus a water purifier, bug out bag, all of that. It's the complete survival kit your family needs to ride out a natural disaster or civil unrest or whatever comes our way. God only knows. Sometimes I pray for the comet to hit us. Anyway, it also makes a great Christmas gift, but only available through Black Friday. So head to mypatriotsupply.com/Glenn. Check out everything that's included. mypatriotsupply.com/Glenn. President Trump has hinted that the U.S. military could get involved if the Nigerian government fails to protect their Christian population. Sounds like a very bad idea to me. But what would it look like? What's the best option here? Erik Prince is, he's a former Navy SEAL, founder of the, former military contracting firm Blackwater, currently leads a security firm, Vectis Global, and co-founded Unplugged, a privacy-focused communication company that produces the Up phone, which is fabulous. I have one. Erik, always on the go, going to catch a plane now. Thanks for joining us before you get onto that plane. This sounds like a really colossally bad idea to get involved in any kind of military anything in Nigeria.
I think in typical fashion of President Trump, it was his opening negotiation, and he asked large. I don't think he would actually send troops, but he does have a lot of means to leverage the Nigerians and to pressure them, and especially to sanction the ones that are not doing their job. The problem with the amount of Christians that are being killed by the Al-Qaeda, ISIS affiliates, the Fulanis, it is really criminality that's wrapped itself in Islam. So it is a failure of law enforcement and their military capability to actually basically to protect 99% of the population from 1% of the criminal element. And that's what they need help with. So I can tell you that the Nigerian government is very focused on this. They called an all-hands cabinet meeting this morning. It was delayed 3 hours because 7 of the ministers were flying in from all over the country to be there in person. And I think they are looking for a solution. And so we'll see what they come back with. But I would be surprised if there's U.S. forces that get sent there. But President Trump holds a lot of leverage, and he has a lot of credibility with these leaders that when he puts his foot down and says, this must happen, that's the greatness of being a credible president, and sometimes loved, sometimes feared. But he's going to get his way on this. And the net result, I believe, is that the Christians are going to be in a much more protected situation 6 months from now than they are now.
But how long does that last? I mean, here's the problem, Erik. I mean, I think people are just so blind to what's happening. This is a global strategy. I mean, I just feel like we're watching Islamist forces positioning all over the world, in the Western world, and just ready for the right time to stand up and say, you're ours. Thomas Jefferson said, if we don't fight now and we're not careful, our first foreign war will end up being our last foreign war, meaning we're going to fight these people again, unfortunately, because they're not going to stop. They believe in what they believe. If you're an Islamist, what's going to stop you?
Fair. And you know what? Since we're talking about Jefferson and Islamists, the first foreign policy crisis of his presidency, an American foreign policy, was the Barbary pirate problem.
Right.
Where you had the legacy Ottoman Empire, the Barbary coast, and they were basically seizing ships and making slaves of lots of mariners. And then the USS Philadelphia was surrendered by the captain because it ran aground. So you had 340 American sailors held hostage by the Bay of Tripoli. The ransom demand exceeded the defense budget that year. And so Jefferson, kind of being a pacifist and a non-interventionist, still had to solve the problem. So he turned to William Eaton, a former Army officer who took 8 Marines and 90 contracted mercenaries, French, Greeks, and Italians, walked all the way from Alexandria, Egypt, all the way to Derna, attacked a garrison 10 times their size, and took it. And so it was, government and private partnership with contractors as part of the mix and a lot of local forces. And what do you know? It worked. So I suspect something like that will happen in Nigeria to protect some Nigerian citizens from an out of control Islamist mob. But here's the thing. It's not just Christians that are getting slaughtered by marauding Muslim criminals. There's a lot of Muslims that are also taken. I have multiple outreaches from state governors in the north that can't leave their house after 4 p.m. because it's so dangerous, the kidnapping, the violence, the extortion. So again, helping Nigeria restore law and order, super important. It's 220 million people that want to live better.
Can I expand this just a little bit? We are seeing these Islamist movements grow all over the West. You're seeing a partnership between who I would say are Islamists and Marxists. And I mean, I know how it ended in 1979 for the Marxists in Iran. They don't last long after the Islamists take over. Are you concerned at all about this global handshake, this global partnership between the Islamists and the Marxists?
Well, you have the communist elements of the United States that have certainly fully aligned and intertwined with the Islamist elements, with the Muslim Brotherhood. That's a problem. The Chinese have dealt with Islamists in China in a very
We've lost him, I think. And it was just getting really good. It's like a movie, isn't it? We've lost we've lost him. Let's see if we can. There. Are you there?
Glenn, can you hear me? Over?
Okay, yeah. So we lost you. You said you were just starting that answer.
The Chinese have certainly dealt with Islamists inside China in a very unambiguous way. Russia, the legacy FSB KGB approach, has certainly been one to play footsie and to stimulate Islamists to affect their desired foreign policy outcome. They are not as quick to do that now because they have a true Islamist problem inside of Russia in Dagestan, Chechnya, and the South Caucasus. So the Islamist problem now stimulating it is Qatar. And they are the major sponsors of these very radical Salafi type organizations and a little bit of Turkey. And so we need to face those facts and deal with it as the United States, a great power, should.
Have we been in this situation before, Eric?
Look, there's always enemies of freedom. And, we stared down a Soviet Union, an empire, a Russian empire, and by staying true and promoting more capitalism, more faith, and staying true to the Constitution, worked. And I'm with Pat Buchanan on this, that we have to protect our culture, because when the culture dies, the cult dies. Yeah. And that must be defended vigorously, and including the unique aspects of what made America a distinct nation.
Eric, I have to cut you go. We're at the end, but thank you. 100% agree from Florida. Good night, America.